Alright guys, today we are playing Ultimate Sharknado. So as you can probably guess, Shark Typhoon will play heavily into it. We actually don't run any creatures, so everything will trigger Shark Typhoon. So we start with Omen of the Sea, Narset, Teferi, Deafening Clarion, Chromatic Lantern, Shatter the Sky, Mythos of Aluna, Liliana, and Ruinous Ultimatum. We run Chromatic Lantern because it makes Ruinous Ultimatum easier to cast. Otherwise, we would run probably 4 damage to everything, and then just whatever pain lands we had. We do run 4 interplanar beacons because we are running Narset, Teferi, and Liliana. So it just gets us a little bit extra life gain in case the Clarions aren't enough. Alright, let's go see how it runs. Okay, first opponent, Sir Alan 001. We have a decent land base. Got red, white, blue, and black. So, and the nice thing about playing the Savai Triomes first, then when you play a blue, it's like a surprise, and then your opponent doesn't really know what you're doing. So the opponent runs out ramp, turn 1 and 2, and a Pelt Collector. We're going to go ahead and Teferi and bounce the Pelt Collector, because I'm pretty sure the opponent won't necessarily want to attack Teferi with the Paradise Druid and lose too much hexproof. Okay, and so that tells me the opponent doesn't care about casting instants, and we are going to take some damage. Okay, so Shark Typhoon, I do have the land for it with that interplanar beacon, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it. And I can still play another Teferi and bounce something if I need to. So he's just on the extreme aggro plan. Just do as much damage as he can, as quick as he can. So we're going to gain a little life from the interplanar beacons, play Liliana. Each player sacrifices 2 creatures, and that's Liliana's -4 ability. So he does choose the Paradise Druid so he can keep the most amount of damage on the board. Okay, then he runs out quite a bit. The Pelt Collector, which already grew, and then Annex. So now, what to do? Do we cast Shark Typhoon and hope we live a turn? Do we cast Teferi and Mythos and hopefully live a turn? Really, at this point, we're just in survival mode. So instead, we're going to make a copy of Liliana. It is legendary, so I only get to keep 1. So, and then I can -4. So first I'm going to bounce a creature to his hand. In retrospect, I should have bounced the Pelt Collector instead of the Annex. I was just trying to take the least amount of damage possible, and the least amount of damage possible was bouncing the Annex. Okay, so right here I'm thinking I could Shatter the Sky, but he gets a card draw from it. I could just run out a creature with Liliana. So I do that first. And I do decide to go ahead and Shatter the Sky, even though it does give him a card draw. And then I'm thinking I might be able to Shark Typhoon during his turn if I need to mitigate some damage. So right now he's just adding the mana, going for Sunder Shaman again. And I'm wondering if I Mythos on his turn, I can Mythos his Sunder Shaman and kill it. So he does go ahead and kill Teferi during his main phase. And then I'm going to Mythos his creature, kill his creature, so that it can't destroy my Chromatic Lantern. And then just pass turn. Okay, Annex is now a 4/3. He's going to make it fight my 2/2. Going to give me a card draw. It's another land. So I am going to go ahead and cycle 1 Shark Typhoon just to get a creature on the board. So I can hit his Domri. And then I'm just going to run out the other Shark Typhoon, because Shark Typhoon is an enchantment, so it is a permanent, but it can be cast for its discard ability. So we went from being pretty far behind to now we're pretty far ahead, and the opponent just shocks themselves to basically surrender. Okay, we mulligan the first hand. This hand has a good land base, has some planeswalkers. Since we have the black mana with the Savai Triome, we don't need any more black mana, so we decided to get rid of the swamp because we're pretty sure we're going to be able to get more black mana if we need it. And at that moment, I needed red, white, and blue mostly for Deafening Clarion. Okay, so we are going to run out the Clarion, assuming he's going to sacrifice Alseid to protect the Healer's Hawk, but I'm fine with that happening now, because next turn my plan is to bounce the Healer's Hawk to his hand, and he does let it happen, which means if he did have a Protect spell in his hand, he should have given it protection from blue before Teferi landed, but he did not. Okay, so now he's exiling things from his graveyard to make Healer's Hawk a little bigger. He doesn't know I have another Teferi. So now when I run this one out, I know that he can't protect, and I bounce that one too. Now he has nothing in his graveyard to exile to bring back Sentinel. So, and he just scoops it up onto the next game with Varda Games. So we did get 2 planes, but a Fabled Passage. So the only other land we need right now is blue. So we're going to go get blue. And then Omen of the Sea will hopefully get us into some more land. And if not, we do have 2 Chromatic Lanterns in hand. And they're just going to swing in with the Hateful Eidolon. And it's a little too early for Ruinous Ultimatum, but the Savai Triome, even though it comes in tapped, turn 3 we'll cast Chromatic Lantern, and then no matter what happens, turn 4 we would be able to shatter the sky. So Kaya is just getting counters, but not actually doing much of anything right now. And Shatter the Sky doesn't really seem like it's useful against one creature. So we're just going to go ahead and Narset it and see if we can find something more useful, which we do with Mythos of Aluna. So the plan is to Mythos his Kaya, exile his own Eidolon with my copy of his Planeswalker. Mythos of Aluna says create a copy of a permanent, and it doesn't have to be yours, it doesn't have to be a creature, so you can just create a copy of anything on the battlefield. And then I decided not to crack that Fabled Passage because I want to keep drawing some more land. I want to get up to probably about 10 land by the end of the game. And then I can still Mythos his Kaya, and then -1 to exile the Hateful Eidolon. So, and he must have graveyard interaction because he kills it in response. And then he sees that I grabbed Teferi, and he scoops it up. Okay, Kizarix. We have a okay land base, but not good enough. We go ahead and mulligan. And I believe we're going to get rid of one of the Rogrin Triomes. Nope, Fabled Passage. Yeah, because we don't have anything to cast before turn 3 anyway, and both of the things we could cast on turn 3 need red and white anyway. So it made sense to keep the Rogrin Triome. And now it makes sense to play the Savai Triome just so we have all of our mana, one of each mana available. And then next turn we can play Interplanar Beacon and either play Teferi or Deafening Clarion. Clarion wasn't worth it, so Teferi came out and prevented instance from running. And the opponent takes their time deciding to cast another Cloud Conceer. They do go ahead and attack Teferi. And we plus up. There is a play mistake here in a minute. It wasn't that. It'll be coming up soon. Where I should have Deafening Clarion later, than I did. I should have let a creature resolve and then used a Deafening Clarion. And if you can't tell, this is a, I mean, I'm sure you can tell, this is a recording that I'm doing my voiceover because the audio was super messed up on the original. So on this one, I do decide to keep the Ruinous Ultimatum, even though I can't cast it yet. And then I create a creature, mostly because I want to see if he just has a lot of burn in his hand. And that's why he hasn't done anything yet, because I have no creatures. So we do see a lot of flying stuff. Has to cast his Flash Sea Dasher Octopus at instant speed, or at sorcery speed, sorry, even though it has Flash. And they're going after Liliana instead of Teferi. So I do make the creature first, and then I'm going to Shatter the Sky. And I do it on his turn because I want to destroy as many of his creatures as possible, and I want 2 card draws. Okay, so now I do have the mana for Ruinous Ultimatum. And there's really nothing I need to do on my turn here. So this should cause the scoop right here. Ruinous Ultimatum destroyed his last creature. And we're just getting ahead more and more on our board state. And he doesn't even know what we have in our hand. But what we have in our hand is Liliana and Teferi. So even if he somehow killed both of them, we have them right back. So that isn't a very good hand, because there wasn't a... That's not a good hand either. I'm not sure why I kept that. Oh, I guess Omen of the Sea, because it could potentially draw me something better. Okay, so this so far looks like a White Weenies deck. And there was a play mistake there. I did not cast Omen of the Sea on his turn. Even though it wouldn't... No, it would have helped me, because I could have Omened hit on his turn, and then Omened again on my turn, the turn before this. So I know we're going to need to Shatter the Sky. It's apparent they're running a lot of creatures, and their main goal is going to be to gain life. So, and then as it turns out, I needed another Shatter the Sky, but I never got it. So our thought process here is -4. Each player sacrifices 2 creatures, but the opponent runs Omen of the Sun, gets out 2 creatures, sacrifices the 2 smallest ones, then swings at me and Teferi, and Liliana. So what I probably... So then I thought, oh, I'll just do it again, make him sack those 2 now, and he runs out another Omen of the Sun. So in hindsight, I probably should have casted Teferi and bounced his big token that had all the counters on it. But hindsight is 2020, and you know, it's not always that perfect when you're in the game. Okay, so 3 mana with Chromatic Lantern puts us on a good path to Ruinous Ultimatum. That Interplanar Beacon is going to mean we cast Narset and gain a little life. So, but I think I'm going to cast Chromatic Lantern first, just in case I want a copy of something. Yeah. The opponent's got us down to 15. So now I have a tough choice, Teferi or Narset. So I think I played Narset hoping I find a Destroy All. Deafening Clarion works. And the next turn I'll have 6 mana. So if I do it right, I can cast Teferi plus Teferi. I did not do it right. So I should have plus Teferi and then used the Deafening Clarion on his turn, let him commit a little bit more to the board. Okay, so he runs out Luris. He did have to use both of his black mana for it, so he can't get back a Cauldron Familiar. He does give Luris haste. And then I believe I Clarion here. I think so. Because I don't want him to have the chance to get anything back from the graveyard. And then since I plussed up, I'll have Mythos of Aluna available next turn. So right here he does Call of the Death Dweller. Then he's going to claim the Firstborn and give it haste again. So in response, I'm going to Mythos of Aluna and fight his Luris before he can give it haste and attack my Teferi. Okay, and then he does scoop it up when he sees the Shark Typhoon, and he knows he's probably not going to get anything else down on the battlefield. They don't run a lot of creatures, and he needed creatures there. So we don't have 2 blue mana for Narset or Mythos here. But I think we go ahead and keep and just hope we find the blue mana. I don't remember if I do find it. And we're against mono red. So it's going to be rough if we don't find it. So now this 1/1 is dealing 3 damage a turn. So after he attacks, I think we are going to Shark Typhoon for 1 while he can't respond to it and block his Scorch Spitter so that next turn Chandra's Spitfire doesn't become a 7/3 for free. Okay, then Narset after the Interplanar Beacon gains us a life and we get a Teferi. So now we get to control his board a little bit. He does get a big hit on us first because he's going to attack with Chandra, deal 1 damage, or deal more than 1 damage. So I'm not sure what the right play here was, but I went ahead and bounced Chandra's whatever fire thing. Of course, no, I don't know. Chandra's Spitter? I don't remember what it's called. Spitfire. And I think right here, if he had attacked all at me, I would have died that turn. Because I would have taken 3 from Cavalcade, 3 from Fervent Champion, and 4 from Torbrand. So even Liliana there wasn't enough. The only thing I can do is Mythos of Aluna, Torbrand, and fight Torbrand, and that's what I should have done in retrospect. I was just so worried about Chandra's Spitfire getting so big, I couldn't deal with it, that I didn't realize he had lethal just from, he didn't even need the Pin Street Dodger. So in retrospect, I should have copied Torbrand and then fought him, and they both would have died, but then it would have knocked him back down to 3 damage that turn instead of 9. Okay, next game, Upset Flyer 842. We're going to go get a blue mana so we can play Omen of the Sea. And I don't typically play the Interplanar Beacon until I'm ready to play a Planeswalker unless I have no other land, because I don't want them to know that I'm on Planeswalkers just yet. Okay, so we're just going to plus up just to get a little bit of counters on Teferi. In retrospect, I should have minused and hit the Omen, which I think is what I do this time. In case they kill this Teferi, then at least I got a little more use out of it. Yep, so at least I got a little use out of it. And Omen of the Sea, we're doing it now, so we can hopefully find a land. And with the Chromatic Lantern, it can be any land. Okay, creatures entering the battlefield don't cause anything to happen. They can't have enter the battlefield effects. So we make him sacrifice his 2 creatures. So his plan is to run out Hushbringer and Kroxa, so that we have to, so that he doesn't have to sacrifice Kroxa. Okay, so we did play down the Shark Typhoon instead of cycling it. So now anytime we cast a creature, or a non-creature, we get a flying shark worth that creature's mana cost. So the opponent is deciding whether to mortify or run out Kroxa again, and he did destroy our Shark Typhoon. So Shatter the Sky isn't very good here. And I should have not done that because I gave him 2 free life. Should have just attacked with the shark. So he's going to destroy all creatures for us. But we do get some card draw out of it. And then we're going to go ahead and scry 2 land to the bottom. Draw land anyway. And then we're going to get a token and just pass the turn. So that if the opponent does play something crazy, we still have Shatter the Sky available, or Deafening Clarion. So now he gets to choose a creature and a land to keep, and sacrifice everything else. And then I'm going to bounce his Realm Cloak Giant to his hand, because it costs 7 and he has 1 mana. And then I'm going to copy the Shark Typhoon with Mythos, which is going to give me a couple sharks every time I cast something. I'm going to pick up another Shark Typhoon. He runs out of Kroxa for no reason. I discard a Shark Typhoon and just swing in. GG Upset Flyer. So we've got 2 Narset and Mythos, so really the thinking is just let Narset find us a threat. So they're going to go ahead and get rid of 1 Narset, and since they know we're on the Planeswalker plan already, it didn't make sense to hold up Interplanar Beacon. So I'm running out the Narset because they don't know about Teferi, so I'm hoping they counter Narset and don't have a counter for Teferi the next turn. So now I'm thinking, if they had a counter once, they have a counter again. But the only thing I can Mythos of Aluna is a land, which I'm fine on. So we casted our Teferi, and he did not counter it. He tried to find a counter and didn't. So now he can't cast instants and sorceries. And I don't remember which deck this was. I'm not sure why he made us discard Mythos of Aluna instead of Ruinous Ultimatum, because the only permanent I had out was Teferi, and Teferi can't, it's legendary, so you can't have more than 1 of him. And then I drew a Mythos of Aluna anyway. So he runs Lazav back out, keeps something on top instead of putting it in the graveyard. So this turn my plan is going to be a little different. So I'm going to scry 2 and draw a card. And I do want Shatter the Sky, because there has to be something he plans on copying with Lazav in the graveyard. And Lazav says pay 2, I think, and it becomes a copy of a creature in your graveyard. So right now, he casted Bedevil on my Planeswalker, which destroys target Planeswalker. So since I can play this sorcery at instant speed, I'm going to cast Mythos of Aluna on my Planeswalker, create a copy, keep the copy, and then his Bedevil hits nothing. He does get to swing it to Teferi for 1. And now I can Ruinous Ultimatum or Shatter the Sky, but neither one seems worth it for a 1/3 that isn't copying anything in his graveyard. So he goes ahead and cycles Neutralize because he can't cast it because of Teferi. And I do want Narset to find me some more threats. And then the opponent just scoops it up. GG Squirrels. Alright, Kevo Nasty. We've got a decent mix of land here. We've got the Chromatic Lantern. So we can Omen on turn 2 and Teferi on turn 3. And then I think I'm going to think right now I'm thinking, all right, do I run out Narset and try to avoid the counter? But he just tapped out for Sea Dasher Octopus. So now I can cast Teferi with no possible counter. And then I can just bounce his creatures back to his hand. And now all of his flash creatures are just regular creatures. They may as well not have flash since I have Teferi. And since I have Teferi, there's a good chance I'm running Deafening Clarion, since a lot of Teferi decks are. So I plus Teferi, and I was going to say, don't Chromatic Lantern. I think it, yeah, just passed the turn. So that if he goes to mutate onto Baby Godzilla, something that I can't allow, then I can just Deafening Clarion the Baby Godzilla away, and his mutate creature just lands. So I'm going to let Sea Dasher Octopus come down. And when he goes to combat, just Deafening Clarion. Again, because it can't be countered, I don't have to worry about it not resolving. So he's going to play another Baby Godzilla. Now we can Chromatic Lantern. And we are going to take a Shark Typhoon. An argument was for the Mythos, because it could do some other stuff for us. The reason we went with Shark Typhoon is that's the point of our deck. And then we drew a Mythos of Aluna anyway. And grabbed a Teferi. So now I'm going to Mythos his creature so that I can fight his creature. And because of the Chromatic Lantern, I get to use any color of mana to cast the Mythos. Yep, and we're going to take a Liliana. Cast a Teferi again. And this is because if something gets countered now, I'd rather it get countered right now rather than... And it didn't make sense for him to do that, because he knew it was going to get bounced, unless he just wanted Teferi down to 1 counter. That's the only thing I can think. So, and I did this just to get the counters on Teferi, just in case he played something with surprise haste. And then he sure takes his time figuring out what he wants to do here. So Pouncing Shore Shark doesn't hit anything because we don't run creatures. And then he just casts the Brazen Borrower and scoops. Okay, Sakurai Seiya. Not enough land here. Can't keep that. Okay, definitely enough land here. Get rid of the Ruinous Ultimatum. Have Teferi set up for turn 3. So we could have assumed he was running counters there, because if it was a growth spiral, he would have done it at the end of his, or at the end of turn 2, and he didn't. Or maybe he should have done it at the end of our turn, that second turn. So what I was hoping is he would use too much mana destroying that shark, and then Narset would be able to land, and he couldn't draw cards, more than 1 card a turn anymore. Okay, then we're gonna go ahead and cast Liliana. And at this point, it's just like if he has a counter, he has it. And if not, great. My mouse will not hold still. I think he miscounted how much mana we had there, because the lantern is confusing that it does tap for mana. So he shocks Liliana for salt, I guess, and then scoops. Alright, that is the deck. So I hope you enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed playing. If there was anything confusing or anything you would like to see different, let me know in the comments. I will do my best to answer them, and if there's some form of the video you like better, if you like it sped up like this with the commentary over the top, let me know. If you like it better the other way, let me know that too. And as always, have a great day, and that's an order.